Tom Downey here for the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. We have a challenge going on here, company-wide, setting the mark for most comments by a singular user. It was actually set originally on our Raiders channel. Someone left well over 100. So let's break that mark and show the NBA channels here at Chat Sports can bring it just like the NFL ones. If you leave over 100 comments on a video and set the new mark, I promise you guys, we'll get you guys a shout out. So get it going. Right now you can type, if it's easier, just type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all in individual comments, or you can spam Lakers 100 times. Either way, let's get it popping in the chat right now. This is the Lakers Report. I am Tom Downey, subbing in today for both Chase and Harrison as they have other things going on. It is a mailbag, of course, here, as you could probably tell by the headline. So make sure you're subscribed and keep an eye on the community tab. That's where we ask for our questions here. You can always submit them over there. Our first question from Andrew. Lakers, or hashtag Lakers, trade Russ for Kyrie because Kyrie is nothing without LeBron. Irving's career path has been quite fascinating, to be honest. It was a slow growth, but promising growth in Cleveland. Then LeBron arrives, they win the title, and then Kyrie says, I don't want to be here anymore, forces his way out, ends up with the Celtics. Does not bad. Better career production than his overall career in Cleveland, as you can tell on screen. But then he continued to have issues with a variety of things, frankly. Forces his way out of Boston, goes to Brooklyn. That was a disaster this year, in part because of the COVID mandates and whatnot, and Irving not being vaccinated, blah, blah, blah. In general, I like the way you're thinking. The Kyrie-LeBron pairing was awesome, and it would have been a lot better had Kyrie not kind of kickstarted the disaster ending that was the Cavs' LeBron 2.0 run, although they won a title, so it was worth it. The problem here is, who wants Russ, right? Like that's the root cause of all the issues here when it comes to finding a way to acquire a superstar talent. Russ is a very large contract, and now he's playing bad. So who wants him? That's the root problem here. It's a great idea in theory. I find it very difficult to foresee an outcome in which the Lakers are able to finesse a Russell Westbrook trade in exchange for Kyrie Irving. I guess adding Durant and Russ is fun together, but there's no reason the Nets should go about doing that. Now, YouTube has a new feature here, Super Thanks. And this is like a super chat, but it's done outside of live videos. In the past, you were only able to have super chats and whatnot on live shows. Now, Super Thanks is an on-demand feature for you to donate and support us here at Chat Sports. Every time we get a Super Thanks, we will give you guys a shout-out. As you can tell on this example from YouTube, right side of your screen there, that Super Thanks, it's the heart with the $ icon. It will allow you to donate a certain amount. You can pick your amount and edit your message. So, for example, if you have Lakers questions and you want to guarantee it gets on the show, as opposed to hoping that producer Sam picks one out of the community side, if you Super Thanks, we'll make sure it gets on the show. So, if you have questions that you want to use on the show, take advantage of the upcoming ad break. Head down there and feel free to donate via a Super Thanks. From Marquise Robertson, do you see Malik Monk and Carmelo Anthony re-signing with the LA Lakers? Very possible. I think in particular, as long as LeBron's in LA, kind of feel like Melo will be alongside of him, part of the Banana Boat crew, of course. Melo's career is beginning to wind down. He managed to make a second effort after it looked like a couple years ago he was pretty much washed up. Shot okay from the field. He's not prime Melo by any stretch of the imagination, but he should cost the vet min or thereabouts, and as a LeBron buddy, it does make sense to keep him around on the roster. Malik Monk, however, he might be a little bit too expensive. The Lakers can only offer the taxpayer MLE that's just under $6.4 million, and I think Monk might have played himself out of that price range, in large part because, unlike Melo, Monk is an ascending player. Each of the last 3 years, he's had better production, better results, better on-court play. 13.8 points per game for a still young player in a rotational role player role is valuable, and he can shoot, and we all know how much there is a desperate need for players who can shoot across the entire NBA. So I would love to re-sign Malik Monk. I just wonder if he's going to be a little bit more expensive than what the Lakers can/are willing to pay at this point. But what do you guys think? Type R for re-signing you want to re-sign Malik Monk, or type in L for you're going to let him walk instead. From Tommy Croco, will LeBron James take over another scoring title over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Also, trade Westbrook to Portland for Dame time and sign and trade with Zach LaVine. So I'll answer the last two first, and we'll come back more in depth on LeBron. Again, much like the Kyrie trade, I would love to get Dame to Portland, or from Portland. I don't know how you're able to make that work unless he says, I'm only playing for LA, figure it out, Portland. And it might require a third team to take that Russell Westbrook contract and send other assets to Portland, or ship off Anthony Davis for Dame Lillard. That's a different, more in-depth conversation. Zach LaVine, I know LeVar Ball says LaVine wants to go to LA. Similar problem there. How do you make that type of trade work? Does THT and a pick and something else make enough sense, or a three-team trade again involving Westbrook, since LaVine's going to want a max deal or borderline max deal? It's very difficult to pull off. It's a fun idea. It's a good idea, but the practicality of it is a lot tougher to actually make happen. Now, the practicality of LeBron becoming the NBA's all-time scoring leader is just a matter of when, not if. He is just over 1,000 points behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, ahead of already guys like Karl Malone and Kobe and Michael Jordan. And LeBron, barring a rash of unprecedented injuries, is going to be the guy who is the NBA's all-time leading scorer. He's averaged about 27 points per game in his brief time with LA. At that pace, it's around 49 games to do it. So my expectation is LeBron sets that mark this upcoming season. And there's much fanfare, of course, about one of the greatest of all time to do it. From Jimmy Nails, could Collin Sexton be a sneaky off-season target for the Lakers? Maybe. It is not easy to acquire Collin Sexton. He is admittedly coming off an injury-plagued year, played like 11 games, I think, last year. Put up big numbers on a bad Cavs team in 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021. So it's a good name to keep an eye out for as a target. The problem is, how do you get him? Does a THT and a pick and none and some assets, he's going to be expensive. He's a great basketball player. It is not easy to find that type of player to acquire. Like a lot of these guys, you're kind of banking on him saying, I want to go to LA, trade me there or else, and seeing if you can force that trade through. But the Lakers are tight on assets in terms of draft picks and trade chips that are actually appealing from a contract perspective. Now, the Lakers are in the midst of a coaching search right now. I'd like Kenny Atkinson the most, but we've got plenty of coverage for you guys on that, plus mailbags, news, rumors, and a lot of free agency coverage as well. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe to us here at The Lakers Report. It's youtube.com/LakersTV. We've got free videos pretty much every single day with everything going on around the Lakers coaching search. From Eric, if Westbrook leaves the Lakers, possibility LeBron is our point guard next season. Bron, Monk, Melo, AD, and Dwight Howard. Would that lineup work? It's doable. LeBron has always played at minimum a hybrid point guard role of he brings the ball up, point forward, whatever phrase you want to use to describe it. He's been ball dominant because he's LeBron frickin' James, right? So I do think that makes some sense. To let LeBron be your point guard starter. I do worry about the shooting. That could be a starting lineup. I think when you go, crunch time late in games, you probably don't want AD and Howard necessarily because, Dwight's not what he was. You probably want another scorer. So I would be looking to add another guard. Part of the reason why I think the Lakers did the Russell Westbrook trade was to make life easier on LeBron, not have to have him be so ball dominant for much of the regular season. So that works, but I do think they'd want another ball-heavy guard to help take some of the burden off of Bron. I want you guys to make a kind of complicated prediction here. The Lakers starting five to begin next season. What's it going to look like? Is Russ going to be there or not? Make your predictions for me right now in the comments section. From Tommy again, do you see LeBron winning a title with Lakers so we can justify a move to get Bronny James to LA? If he doesn't win, can LeBron James pair up with Bronny in LA to play with him? LeBron doesn't have to justify anything when it comes to finding a way to add his son on whatever NBA team he's playing for. It's going to happen. As long as Bronny James is somewhat passable as an NBA player, he's going to get a chance to play with his dad. Like, there's no doubt about that for me. The doubt comes into what team it's for. It might not be with the LA Lakers. LeBron has made it clear he wants to play with his son, which of course he does. He's earned that right or privilege or chance, whatever phrase you want to call it there. My expectation is that when Bronny eventually enters the NBA via the draft, he'll go to whatever team takes him. And whatever team takes him gets to sign LeBron James as a very cheap free agent for 1 year. Then LeBron rides off in the sunset, having had a chance to play with his son. Maybe that's with LA. Maybe it's not. We'll have to wait and see on that front.